Welcome back to the Movie Man. Today I will show you a 2021 Korean romantic drama called Nevertheless. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story starts with a beautiful college student named Nabai showing up at an art exhibition put on by her boyfriend. But sadly their love story didn't last long. Her boyfriend's selfishness forces Nabai to make a bold move about their love story. Nabai was afraid it would happen again, so she kept and told herself that she would never fall in love again. She went to a bar to get over a breakup until she met a man there. Initially a man recognized Nabai as someone else, but actually he cancelled his meeting in order to get to know Nabai better. Another reason is that her name Nabai means butterfly. The man really likes butterflies and he even has a tattoo of one on the back of his neck. The night ended happily. Even though they didn't say much about themselves and didn't know each other's names, Nabai decided to return home after she heard the man talking on the phone to someone she thought was his girlfriend. Nabai is afraid of getting close to someone who is having an affair. The next day on campus, Nabai was excited to see her friend Bitna. Her best friend asked her to hang out and talk while smoking on the rooftop. Apparently Bitna is aware of Nabai's closeness to Jae-in, and she also advised her not to get too close to Jae-in and equated him to a beetle perched on a flower which could have easily landed on other flowers. Nabai wasn't sure about Jae-in at first, but Jae-in always seemed to find opportunities to talk to or even kiss Nabai. Even though Nabai knows that Jae-in is always nice to the women around him, the women often think that Jae-in likes them because of this. After a night of drinking with his friends, Nabai and Jae-in made out. They also couldn't sleep either. The things that happened to them both happened so quickly and made a big impression on both of them. Because of what happened last night, Nabai did research on kissing and drunk people. While she was on campus, she read articles that said if two people kissed, it meant they were either in a relationship or just fun partners. Saul appeared in front of her all of a sudden. Nabai said that she was looking for references for an assignment. Nabai finally asks Saul if a person has a sudden desire to kiss someone means that person also wants to sleep with them. Saul again asked Nabai if it was about her. Nabai's only way out is to say that the question was asked to find out what people in general thought and it wasn't about her, it was about her friend. In the studio, Jae-in smiled when he got a short message that said "I'm on the plane." In a different room, Nabai thought about Saul's straight answer while she drew on paper. If two people kiss, it could mean that they want to keep having fun or even end their relationship. Nabai couldn't think clearly, so she took her phone and texted Jae-in, but she later changed her mind. Not long after that, Nabai's two friends came in and were ready to get materials for the lecture. One of her male friends asked why her female friend would sleep with someone who wasn't her boyfriend. Nabai answered loudly that it was none of his business, and she added it's not just about the fun. Class started. Nabai took the class sluggishly, but Nabai heeded the lecturer's advice that an artist should date and feel love in order to create works with soul. In this case we're talking about true love, not one night stands. Meanwhile, Ji-wan, who was watching a movie with her new male friend, said that she had never been picky about who she would be friends with, go out with or play with. Then her friend asked if Ji-wan wanted to go out and watch again one day, he would be willing to go with her. On the other hand, Sol's new friend talked to her while she was strolling, which made her even more awkward than she was before. Her friend stays with her until Sol goes to the bus stop to wait for the bus. Unintentionally, their togetherness is known by Jung from afar, but Ji-wan didn't want to greet her. In the chisel studio, Nabai is starving. She was very upset, so she went outside to get some food and fresh air. It looks like Jae-in is in the studio for iron arts. Nabai gave him a quick glance and admitted that she couldn't stop thinking about Jae-in. Jae-in's phone soon rang and he answered it without looking to see who was calling. Seola, he greeted. He was able to guess and call out the name of the woman on the other end. Shortly after getting the call, Jae-in walks out of the studio and into the courtyard where a woman was already waiting. It was probably Seola, the name on the phone earlier. She might have always had Jae-in's heart, thought Nabai, who continued to follow Jae-in. Nabai continues to be haunted by strange feelings, but she realizes Jae-in may never have thought of her as special. Nabai finally kept going with her plan to shop. While shopping, Nabai was served by the cashier who had gathered last night, a first-year college student who works part-time as a cashier in a small store. His name is Kim Un-han, but because Nabai misspelled it, Kim thought that Nabai couldn't remember people's names. Kim gave Nabai a bottle of milk to accompany Nabai's dinner, a sign of respect from a junior to a senior. When they were leaving, the convenience store. Kim asked Nabai to show her phone, and as soon as she did, Kim typed the number into Nabai's phone. Kim also promised to contact Nabai sometime. Nabai blushed and expressed gratitude to Kim so that the behavior of the two of them was observed properly by the two people from the balcony. They are Sile and Jae-eun. Seola makes fun of Jae-eun by saying that he is kind to Nabai and surely she is not an ordinary senior to Jae-eun. Seola also asked about Jae-eun's butterfly pet, which is still being well cared for. Sile thinks that Jae-eun's fate is tied to butterflies. When she finds out Nabai's name, the word Nabai means butterfly. In the meantime, Jae-eun says that Sile is his destiny. Sile knew it was just a joke. At dinner, Nabai spent the night alone. Soon Kim Un-han sent a message to Nabai asking some silly questions. Nabai thought Kim was a nice person. The next day, Nabai was walking on the campus stairs when she saw Jae-eun making something serious from a distance. After looking at it for a while, she left. Jae-eun looked at where Nabai was standing when something else caught his attention, but Nabai was no longer seen. It looks like Jae-eun makes beautiful glass crafts in the shape of butterflies. During the lunch break, Nabai and Bitna had a light conversation. Bitna noticed that Nabai looked sick, so she asked her if she was sick because Jae-eun had left. Nabai dodges that Jae-eun isn't her type and they wouldn't get along. Nabai also slipped out because of Bitna's actions. She went through something that she didn't want to talk about. Bitna just told her that she needed to be patient to catch the big fish. Bitna says that Jae-eun is someone who doesn't like going on dates, so it is not easy to get his attention. Kim Un-han greeted them from the balcony, reminding them to have lunch, and Nabai briefly mentioned that Kim Un-han has an interesting and kind personality. On another day, Kim walked up to Nabai out of the blue and gave her a glass of candy to cheer her up. He praised Nabai's work even though Nabai had told him that all of her classes this semester were very messy and that she might get a bad grade. Kim isn't sure about this because he thinks Nabai is a great artist who can definitely make great work. Kim was also blown away by the love statue made by Yunabi. He felt that he had saved a photo of the work, but it turned out that the photo was lost because he changed his phone. Nabai said that she got the idea for her work from her ex, so she threw it away. The talk went on until Kim asked her to watch a movie with him. Nabai was happy because it had been a long time since she'd been to the movies. Nabai was immediately captivated by Kim's ability to express himself spontaneously. When they were having a good time talking, Jae-eun joined in because he was interested in what they were talking about. Kim said out of the blue that he and Nabai would watch movie if they could. Jae-eun looks a little confused and asks if the two of them are really close. Nabai snaps back that she is very close to Kim, even closer than she is to Jae-eun. Jae-eun also said that the movie they're going to watch is a great example because Nabai is very picky about everything, even how she kisses. Nabai is upset and asks Jae-eun to leave the place so they can talk alone. Nabai gets angry with Jae-eun when he shows up out of the blue and looks down on her. She gets angry that Jae-eun didn't contact her after what happened that night. Jae-eun also thought that Nabai, who didn't talk to him, thought that the moment that night was normal. As a woman, Nabai wants to be noticed first, but she can't tell Jae-eun that. But Jae-eun instead said that he was happy for Nabai and Kim Un-han. When Nabai left Jae-eun, Kim showed up and gave Nabai's phone, which she had left in class, back to her. Kim asked again if they could now watch it. Kim was standing behind Jae-eun. Nabai looked at Jae-eun and said of course. Afterward, Kim and Nabai dined at the stall Kim had selected. Kim said he likes butterflies better than dragonflies. Nabai is excited that she finally has a daytime date. Kim and Nabai took pictures and watched movies all afternoon, and that made Nabai open her photo gallery and look at pictures from when she and her ex went out during the day. Nabai and Kim also watched the show together, but when they got home, Kim asked Nabai why she was so sad, but Nabai pretended to be unwell. When they were talking casually, Kim gave Nabai a hug and told her to accept a serious man's true feelings and not like Jae-eun, who is a complete idiot. Kim closed his eyes to kiss Nabai, but Nabai sneezed, which made Kim feel bad, so he left Nabai. After getting to the house, Nabai went to take a shower. Then Nabai thinks about how Jae-eun has treated her so far, which even though it's cold is so kind and meaningful to her. Then Nabai pulled out her phone and deleted Jae-eun's number. Elsewhere, Ji-wan hears that Sol got a full scholarship and will soon go to another country as an exchange student. Jung was pondering something on the balcony when Nabai pulled her to the flea market. Jung believes Nabai is merely a means to meet Kim Un-ha. She knew everything because Bitna had told her. Ji-wan reassures Bitna that Kim is better than Jae-eun. Ji-wan said that Sol had been her inspiration since middle school, but no matter how hard she tried, she might not be able to match Sol. This made her wonder if she could even graduate. Ji-wan also asked if she would would have to take classes while Saul was gone. At the flea market, Jae-eun's charisma draws a lot of attention. Even Jae-eun's professor is interested in him and says he is very smart. While the two of them talked, a girl called Eunha's name and she took his hand right away. Yes, Nabai was ashamed, especially after what had happened before. Jae-eun kept watching Nabai's clumsy face and waiting to see what would happen. Eunha tried to explain, but Nabai decided to leave. She is still being watched by Jae-eun. Ji-wan felt humiliated because it seemed like she was the only one who didn't know what Saul had achieved, and Saul didn't say anything to her. Saul also came with a man she met at the cafe Ju Hyuk. Ji-wan felt even sadder. Ji-wan even refused the gift doll that Saul got from the couple game with Ju Hyuk. Ji-wan was upset that Saul came with a man because she probably would have done the same thing. She didn't realize that today's plans were just for friends and not for dates. Saul didn't understand why Ji-wan was being so stiff tonight. While this was going on, Nabai, who was still sick, came home early even though she had trouble staying asleep in her bed. And remember what Eunha said as she died. Nabai gets a call from a number and Jae-eun answers. Jae-eun calls and notices a difference in Nabai's voice while she claims to be sick. From outside Nabi's house, Jae-eun calls her and asks to meet. Nabai put the phone down right away. Nabai went out in the middle of the night to look for medicine, but there was none. When she got back to her house, she was surprised to find an ambulance there and the police ready to break down her door. It looks like Jae-eun was the only one who was worried about Nabai's health. She asked all of them to be back. Nabai also refused Jae-eun's request to take her to the hospital. Jae-eun knocked on Nabai's door again and he brought her food and medicine. Nabai serves food for Jae-eun, who claims he hasn't eaten all day. Nabai, who was sleepy, was then carried to her bed. Jae-eun waited for Nabai to fall asleep. Jae-eun confessed that he was jealous when Nabai was close to Eunha and asked Nabai to keep his number back. At the end of the conversation, Jae-eun confesses that he actually likes Nabai seriously. It seems that Jae-eun waited for Nabai until she woke up on the edge of Nabai's bed. In the morning, Jae-eun didn't let go of Nabai's hand while she slept. He also gave Nabai fever compress and Nabai got better. When Nabai said that Jae-eun is cooler because of his bangs, Jae-eun said he would do it but asked Nabai to always tie her hair back. They then looked at each other and had a great warm love scene. Not only Nabai and Jae-eun but also Bitna did the same with Kion, and this makes Kion finally tell Bitna how he feels about her. So they can become lovers, but Bitna doesn't take it seriously and doesn't want to date someone in her class. Kion also promised Bitna to keep this feeling, then he left quickly, which made Bitna even more confused about him. Meanwhile, Eol, who is attempting to mend her friendship with Jiwan, receives a different reaction from Jiwan. Jung thought that Eol no longer thought she was important because she had stopped talking to her and was ignoring her. Eol, who is pretty uninterested, doesn't think it's important for her and Jiwan to talk about personal things, then Jung just left Eol like that. Something different happened to Nabai as she was getting ready for Jae-eun to come to her house. Jae-eun said he wanted to study anatomy because Nabai did well in that lesson. Not long after that, Jae-eun came with a butterfly-shaped glass piece he had made and hung it. The next day, Jae-eun was busy working in the administration room. This is why women who like him always come to ask where they can get the butterflies he made. Nabai remained silent upon hearing this, but Min-young was annoyed by the noise, so he kicked the girls out because he had nothing else to do. Jae-eun was able to continue his work. This afternoon, Jae-eun goes back to Nabai's house as lovers often do. Unfortunately, Nabai thinks that Jae-eun doesn't want a serious relationship with her and just wants to take advantage of her. Even though Jae-eun is kind and willing to help out around the house, everything only happens when the two of them are at home at night. In the morning, Jae-eun is like a different person, which is idolized by girls. One afternoon, Nabai, Jihan, Bitna and a few other friends including Jae-eun went to lunch together. They eat a large pizza. Someone asked Nabai if he has a day now as her face looks so happy. Nabai replied that she slept well at night. Of course, it was very good for the skin. Jihan is then set up on a blind date with his high school friend. Jihan looks doubtful as he looks at Bitna and waits for her reaction. Bitna said that if a person is lonely, they will still feel lonely even if they go on a blind date. Jihan sees this as a code and he is ready to meet his high school friend. At night, Nabai asks Jae-eun to learn how to dance before she asked for ice cream to be brought to her early in the morning. When Jae-eun came out of Nabai's house, Nabi looks at him from the window along with the butterfly toy that Jae-eun gave her. Soon her aunt called and told her that her birthday was coming up on Sunday and that she should spend time with someone special. The things her aunt said made her hesitate and she kept asking people to calm her heart, but Nabai had already been asked by Jae-eun to go to the art show. On Sunday, Nabai finally decided to go see her mother this Sunday, so she asked Jae-eun to go to the exhibition with someone else. Even though it doesn't live up to his expectations, Jae-eun agrees. On their way home, Nabai meet her old friend Dong Hyuk, who is studying to be a chef. They also exchanged phone numbers and agreed to get in touch. Dong Hyuk took Nabai home. In the end, because it was raining and he brought an umbrella, the two chatted all the way to Nabai's house. Hyuk talks about his grandfather who pushed him to follow his dream of becoming a chef, and Nabai gives encouragement, so he might be able to reach his goals. Hyuk says he will get in touch with Nabai later. When Nabai got to her mother's house, she was given a piece of her birthday cake. Still, her mother was very surprised that Nabai came in the morning, since she usually showed up in the afternoon or evening. Nabai decided to leave because her mother was not home alone at the time. As she walked, she thought about what she had been through at her age to this day. She has spent a lot of time with friends, best friends, and even people she has slept with. Still, she doesn't know what real happiness is. While Nabai was waiting for the train to Jeju, someone who turned out to be Jae-eun pulled her hand just before she got on the train. He pulled Nabai and took her around town for a while to hunt for photos with Nabai. As the object, Jae-eun gets Nabai a gift and cancels all of his plans to go to the exhibition. Jae-eun pointed out some small things that made Nabai feel even more in love. Nabai thinks this is the best birthday ever. Jae-eun wants to make a special dish for Nabai but stopped because he was offended by Nabai's words. Not long after, Jae-eun leaves after receiving a call from Sile. Nabai, who is upset, then walked out of the house to the shop where Do Hyuk works. Even though it's closed because Hyuk is in the kitchen, Nabai is welcome to go in as a special guest. Do Hyuk said that he is the grandson of the owner of the noodle restaurant's channel. Nabai was shocked because it was her favorite channel during meet time. Hyuk also makes a piece of chocolate cake because he remembers that today is Nabai's birthday. Nabai felt very special, so she said a prayer before blowing out the candles. Both of them talk about their childhood. The next day, Nabai was ready to go to campus and wore the clothes that Jae-eun gave her. Jae-eun kissed Nabai when they met on campus. Even though no one was looking, that moment became a topic of conversation in class. Also, both of them said that they couldn't take part in the observations at the end of the week for their own reasons. Her ex-boyfriend stopped Nabai in front of her house. He told Nabai not to date Park Jae-eun because he is known for playing women. The next day, Nabai was finishing up her project for the exhibition when she heard two male students talking about Jae-eun outside. Jae-eun has memories of many women and have gone out with a lot of women. They also said that Jae-eun had no trouble getting Nabai to love him. Nabai's heart was really hurt by what was said. Soon, Nabai's professor came in to look at her project and told her to put a little more heart into it. She also told her to do a few things, especially to avoid making mistakes as a young person that will hurt her in the future. She is also reminded to immediately take the opportunity if a job offer comes. Nabai has decided to break up with Jae-eun to keep her good reputation, but she doesn't know how to tell him. Nabai started the conversation carefully by asking Jae-eun if the rumors that he is dating someone else besides her were true. Jae-eun doesn't believe the rumors and assumptions. Nabai wants to believe it, but a strange man shows up and asks about Jae-eun. When Jae-eun told him that he was right, the male hit him until he fell. Nabai tried to calm the stranger down, but Jae-eun fought back hard enough to hit the man. No one knew what was going on in this situation, but the two people were able to get along again after going to the police. The stranger just told Nabai to go out with good guys, not guys who try to get with other people's girlfriends. Nabai didn't say anything, but she did ask Jae-eun why so many people think he's a playboy and likes to bother women. Jae-eun is also seen as a man who took advantage of women. She asked Jae-eun to explain what their relationship was like and why Jae-eun had been seeing her all this time. What is Jae-eun's plan? Even though he really likes her but thinks it would be better if they broke up, Nabai shut herself and tried to mourn her sadness alone. On campus, Nabai, who came with EOL, was asked several questions and invited to exhibit at once. Nabai tells them to stop talking about Jae-eun because she doesn't know him very well. Jae-eun meets a woman who says she's sorry because she caused a misunderstanding that left Jae-eun hurt. Jae-eun asks not to see each other again. Bitna, on the other hand, is upset with Jaehan because he just went to meet someone to eat mint chocolate ice cream, which she hates. On campus, Nabai runs into Yeon but doesn't say anything, and the professor is angry that none of her students' projects are good enough to show off. Even though Nabai didn't do a very good job making the sculpture, Bitna Bitna didn't take it seriously until Lol didn't become an exchange student. All of this was very sad for the professor. Jinhua was very upset that she had never heard from Bitna herself about all the decisions she had made. After coming back from campus, Nabai chose to eat dinner alone. She had the same food as she had with Jaehyun the night before. The memories of him are suffocating. Nabai found a gift on her door as she was leaving the house. She later found out that it was a box of jewelry and that her necklace had fallen out of it during a fight a long time ago. She then puts on the jewelry with happiness and calls Jaehyun, but Jaehyun seems to have changed his number. Then at his house, Jaehyun does something that he should have done a long time ago. He lets his pet butterfly fly away. It seems that Nabai's moodiness caused her friends to worry, and Jihyun was also depressed because he had been dumped by his girlfriend. Bitna feels bad for Jihyun, but she can't help him because Jihyun always gets away from her. Jaehyun decided to change his look based on what Nabai said, but Nabai returned the jewelry he gave her and Jaehyun told her to throw it away if she didn't like it. During their talk, Jaehyun got a call from Seo, which he took. Nabai is disappointed that she doesn't know Jaehyun's new number. It seems that Seo has severe anemia and has to take medicine all the time. At the hospital, Jaehyun meets her and tells her not to neglect her health. Hyuk gave lipstick to Nabai as a small gift when she went to see Do Hyuk. Nabai put it on straight away and Hyuk was happy with Nabai's reaction. One night Jihyun went to a shop to pick up Bitna, who was very drunk. Jihyun gave Bitna his jacket and gets ready to take her home. He then said that he really likes Bitna and is very stressed out every night because he can't stop thinking about it. He kissed Bitna to show that he was serious, and then Bitna got onto Jihyun's back spoilingly. Nabai tried a new hairstyle before going to college, but she didn't like it. On this day, Nabai will give a presentation to university professors. One by one they began giving their talks. EOL shows Jinhua her work and gets praise from her. Nabai did a good job giving her presentation. As soon as he arrived at Nabai's appointment for an artist assistant, Jaehyun offered to assist her. This time Jaehyun gives Nabai his full attention. He doesn't even answer the phone when EOL calls. At the metal studio, Jaehyun showed Nabai how to do some metal art processing. At the end of this meeting, Jaehyun gave Nabai his new number. Nabai worked hard to prepare her work and finally it was ready to be shown to the professor. The professor was blown away by Nabai's work this time because it was so good. The professor even charges Bitno, who hasn't been able to show her work yet. One afternoon, Zile met Nabai by accident. She told her about her past with Park Jae-eun and they became close again. When Nabai finds out this sad truth, she doesn't try to stop them. Instead, she tells them that Jaeon prefers women with long hair to women with short hair. Today Nabai didn't show up at school and Jaeon and all of her other friends are worried about her. Jaeon comes back to go to therapy with Sla. During their talk, Sile talked about how she used to date Chris. His closeness to Jaeon makes Chris feel uncomfortable. Jaeon couldn't say anything and tell her that Nabai hadn't talked to him in a few days. Apparently Nabi was visiting her aunt's house by the beach to calm down. Meanwhile, Hyuk reopened his grandfather's mee shop and started his own business near where her aunt lived. On campus, Bitna is very happy to be dating Jihyun. Jihyun wants all of their friends to know so they don't have to keep their relationship a secret. While Nabai was thinking to herself, EOL gave her a call. When she picked it up, it seemed like Jaehyun had used EOL's number to find out where she was and also asked if she could join a workshop this weekend at the Mi restaurant by the beach. Nabai blurted out how they knew she was there. They finally found out that Nabai was at her aunt's house near the beach. After talking on the phone, Nabai reads Jaehyun's message to her asking where she is. Nabai does not respond to Jaehyun's message and recalls what she told Sile about Jaehyun liking girls with their hair tied. Not long after that, Nabai had to turn off her phone so she could calm down. Nabai is out for a walk in the afternoon when she runs into Do Hyuk. He invites her for a walk on the beach. While on campus, Jaehyun works hard to learn new techniques for making art. While Bitna was in the room with Jihyun, she received a call from someone she met on a dating app and a jealous Jihyun then asked Bitna questions. How Bitna could forbid Jihyun to meet other women, but she still manages to talk to a lot of men. They also fought a lot and in the end Bitna just left Jihyun. On the beach, Do Hyuk makes special dishes for Nabai that he has never even shown on his channel. They talk about everything including the fact that Hyuk has never been in a relationship or dated anyone. Hyuk asked Nabai if she had a boyfriend or a big date coming up. She quickly said number. Jae-eun suffers because he looks everywhere for Nabai. Back at the beach, Hyuk tells Nabai with all his heart that she was his first love, but he never told her that. He even gave up when he found out that Nabai was dating someone. Even his plan to follow Nabai to Seoul just to tell her how much he loves her is not just for a culinary school. Nabai is very surprised by all of Hyuk's stories, even though they might be getting closer. Hyuk turned red when he heard that phrase. Jae-eun to the bar where he first met Nabai after breaking up. He recalled Nabai's face and the time of their meeting. Unexpectedly, there was a woman sitting next to Jae-eun and they were talking to each other. Of course they're talking about Nabai. Do Hyuk talks about all the times he saw Nabai again, like when he went to an art show he didn't understand, or when he left for military service and Nabai, who was very drunk, fell asleep in his car. On campus, Jae-eun is always thinking and he spends time in Nabai's studio without realizing it. When Jihan shows up, he asks Jae-eun where Bitna is, but he doesn't know. Jihan wants to know if Jae-eun is in the workshop. When Jae-eun asked if Nabai would be there, Jihan said that Nabai would not be there either. Maybe Jae-eun had made such a big mistake that she was upset with him. However, Nabai likes Jae-eun and Jae-eun should pay more attention to her. Nabai accompanied her aunt to make ceramics and asked why the ceramics could be of different colors even though both were given glaze. Her aunt told her that it was a form of ceramic art, and even though both pieces were given glaze, it was impossible to know what color they would be. The answer is the same as what Jae-eun said when she first heard about his project. But her aunt is not told that it is Jae-eun's expression of the person she loves but doesn't seriously love her. Her aunt said that the butterfly was named Nabai because even though it was cute, it had to work hard to eat leaves and go through long changes to stay alive. So far the only bitter thing Nabai has tasted is food, so she has no reason to be afraid. Nabai kept quiet. Jihan tells Jae-eun everything he feels about Bitna while they are at school. He has tried so hard to love and protect Bitna, but Bitna is still not willing to change. This can make him feel less like a man. However, it's not easy to tell our partners about it. A few days later, today is Jae-eun's birthday. He got many messages from chat apps, including one from Soleil but none from Nabai. In the meantime, Nabai made a new piece that is a sculpture of a face that looks a lot like Jae-eun. While she is having fun, it seems that Do Hyuk comes to take her for a walk. The two of them walk through the village while Hyuk takes a picture of Nabai. Hyuk said that if we make a wish when we see a falling leaf, it will come true. Nabai clearly didn't believe it, even though she picked up the fallen leaves afterward. Nabai suggested that Hyuk create a video vlog of his daily life so that his face appears in the frame, but Hyuk is unsure. On campus, Sla ran into Jae-eun and wished him a happy birthday. She also told Jae-eun that she had lied to Nabai about her relationship with Jae-eun. Jae-eun's face changed right away. When Nabai got back from her aunt's house, she saw that she had missed a few calls and that Jae-eun had sent her a short message that said, "Where are you? Let's talk." Nabai also asked her aunt this question. Her mother told her aunt that we don't date to find the best person in the world but to find the person who is the most important to us. Park Jae-eun meets his mother, who turns out to be a famous artist, who usually lives in Paris. His mother tells Jae-eun that it's hard to love someone who doesn't understand their own feelings. Her mother's words resonated and resembled the confession of Sla, who couldn't keep in touch with him while all Nabai wanted only to be special to him. That night Nabai sat alone chatting with Hyuk and almost deleted Jae-eun's number. In the morning, Nabai took Hyuk, who was shopping for a restaurant. They both rode their own bikes away, but Nabai had to ride with Hyuk as the tire of her bike punctured. At home, Nabai was shocked because Jae-eun showed up when Hyuk was about to go home. Jae-eun finds out the address of Nabai's aunt's house and decides to go there alone even though he has to see another man there. He meets Do Hyuk. It looks like the other reason Jae-eun went there, besides Nabai, was to take part in campus activities because their friends soon showed up for the workshop. Do Hyuk then went to the playground with Nabai and all of her other friends. An awkward atmosphere occurs because Jae-eun, Nabai and Do Hyuk are in one car. Everyone is having fun, but Jae-eun gets mad at Hyuk because he is taking pictures of Nabai. At the Ferris wheel ride, Do Hyuk has to share in the same carriage with Bitna, Jihan and one of their male friends. Jihan is uncomfortable with the way Bitna is acting while she is asking Hyuk for a photo with their male friend. Meanwhile, Eol and Ji-wan are in the same carriage even though they are both scared of heights. Only Jae-eun and Nabai are in the same carriage with each other. Nabai felt awkward with Jae-eun, so they started talking. When they were at their highest point, Jae-eun got down on one knee in front of Nabi and asked if Nabi hated him because she was the only person who hadn't congratulated him until his birthday, even though he had been waiting for it. That night at the inn everyone wanted to have a barbecue. Dooseon's cousin Do Hyuk helps them prepare. Dooseon is amazed to see Jae-eun and talks to him in a friendly way. Nabi was a little bit envious of this moment. Hyuk shows the photos to everyone else at the same time. They couldn't believe how good Hyuk was at taking pictures. Bitna says to Nabi in a whisper that maybe Jae-eun's next target will be Dooseon. When the group game starts, Bitna runs it and some of the players flirt with each other. For example, Jae-eun gets to play while staring at Nabi. Ji-wan is already very drunk so Sol has to carry her. When they arrived in the room, Jil says that she likes Sol more than anyone else in this world and she doesn't care if Sol likes men or not. She also wants Sol to like it. Ji-wan fell asleep in Sol's arms. Sol just told her to stop giving her so much hope. Hyuk is getting ready for a surprise at the beach and Jae-eun is leaving the group game. Everyone wonders if there is a woman who has changed Jae-eun's appearance. Just as Jae-eun was about to answer, a drinking glass near Nabi fell and hurt Seon. Seon gets Nabi's treatment and she says that Jae-eun seems to like Nabi because in the previous game, Seon asked him if he wanted to kiss someone tonight and Jae-eun answered it will be you Nabi. Nabi didn't go to the beach that night even though Hyuk had planned a surprise because she was tired. On the other hand, Jae-eun was able to talk to Nabi alone. He knows that Nabi also hurt her arm but she puts Seon's care first. Jae-eun also asked Nabi to tell the truth about how she felt about him. He didn't want Nabi to leave him because he liked her. They kissed passionately even though Nabi's phone soon rang because of a call from Hyuk. Hyuk goes back to the inn because he is worried and decides to take Nabi home. Hyuk reportedly walked Nabi across a beautifully decorated village road to show her how much he loved her. Nabi is amazed by what Hyuk is doing but she can't accept it yet and she can only say how good Hyuk is. Hyuk then thought it was all because Jae-eun was willing to come all the way for Nabi, even though Nabi looked doubtful when she saw him. In this state Nabi cried and left Hyuk without saying goodbye. At the end Jae-eun talked to Hyuk and the two of them blamed each other. The next morning Jae-eun went to Aunt's house to learn how to make ceramics. While waiting for the walking process he was invited to go around the house and meet Nabi who had just woken up. Aunt asks Jae-eun to have breakfast with her, but Jae-eun decided to leave because Nabi's cold reaction made him feel bad. He said he would come back to study during the holidays. On his way out of the house Aunt comments that Jae-eun is a talented artist who would be better than Nabi if he focused. While college friends eat breakfast at the inn, they talk about what happened last night. Bitna doesn't pay much attention to Jihoon so one of his friends tells her to pay more attention to him. Jae-eun and Nabi on the other hand didn't come to the inn for breakfast. It looks like Nabi was going to the bus station to catch a bus to Seoul. She was already on the bus but Hyuk was able to catch up to her. Hyuk wants to accompany her. Hyuk has also brought snacks to eat on the way. Hyuk talks about what he plans to put on his channel after Nabi suggested it. At the end of the meeting Hyuk said that he wouldn't give up on winning Nabi's heart until she completely rejected him or had a boyfriend and was happy with him. On campus Jae-eun thinks about the time he spent with Nabi at the beach. Soon everyone from the campus group had made it to Seoul, each with their own story. Sol who told Ji-wan how she felt when she was drunk but Ji-wan didn't remember Bitna who was ignored by Jihoon and Jae-eun who couldn't make Nabi fall in love with him. Jin and Sol's situation is getting more and more complicated and when they try to talk to each other they often end up in a small fight that doesn't mean much. Hyuk is happy because he and Nabi can now talk to each other better. One night Nabi was walking alone on a street where she often saw Jae-eun. She doesn't answer when Jae-eun calls. Jae-eun suddenly shows up and offers to show her a butterfly. Hyuk doesn't just send Nabi a text message every day but he also meets her a lot in Seoul and just walks around with her. It fills his life with good energy. The food is getting more and more popular and the content is getting more interesting. Jae-eun thinks that Nabi is becoming more mysterious. Finally caught up with her as she was about to go into the house and asked whether Nabi regretted the meeting with him and what had happened this far. Nabi said yes, it's true, she really feels bad about it and she hopes Jae-eun never comes back to see her again. Nabi was crying a lot inside the house. All the nice things that have happened so far aren't insignificant but the way Jae-eun has treated her seems to be putting a strain on their relationship. When Nabi needed attention, Jae-in was always cold to her. This hurt her feelings. While this is going on, Jae-in is still confident with his idealism that a formalized relationship will hurt the relationship itself. Even though Jae-in thought about it, he didn't delete Nabai's contacts. People say that Jae-in has left campus and is going to the United States. He chose to do this when Nabai heard about the rumors. She was upset and had a hard time finding Jae-in. Over time, Nabai has finished college and Hyuk's content is getting him more and more attention. Many fans wanted pictures of Hyuk and Nabi going for a walk. Nabai is increasingly supporting Hyuk for his career while Hyuk is supporting Nabi, who will be exhibiting her work, but Nabai felt lonely and empty in her heart. Last but not least, Nabai was able to show off her work and get a lot of good feedback. Everyone could enjoy Nabai's work, but when she went back to the gallery late one night, she saw someone standing in front of her masterpiece. That was Jae-in. This time it was Nabai who talked a lot. She stressed that if Jae-in leaves her this time, she doesn't want him to leave her ever again. They kissed and talked about how much they wanted each other, and then they decided to stay together. The end. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. Thanks for watching.